Hi, good morning. We're here with Eleanor Goddard from Furnish Fettle. How are you doing, Eleanor?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Lovely to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. So if you could just start this off and tell us a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
So my husband and I run our interior design business called Furnish Fettle. So we work mainly with residential clients and also hotel and high-end business clients to make their home environment or their business environment look lovely and be the perfect space for them. We've been doing it now for 7 years this year, so it feels like sometimes like a lifetime to the times it's just gone like that.
Yeah, plenty going on. How many shop fronts do you have?
So we've just got the 2 now. We did have 3. We started off in Wetherby, and then we opened a second branch in Harrogate, and then we took the opportunity to open a 3rd branch over in Pocklington. But we came to the conclusion that actually having Wetherby and Harrogate so close to each other, that we didn't actually need the additional expense of having the 2. And obviously the retail environment has changed a lot over the last few years. So and particularly the pandemic gave us that opportunity to learn really that what we're doing is providing a service for our clients more than being a retail shop. So we've cut that cost from the business and yeah, haven't really looked back. It's the first time I've actually thought about it since we closed in January. So definitely don't miss queuing into Harrogate at all. And actually, interestingly, we get loads more Harrogate clients coming over to visit us in Wetherby. So it's good.
Fantastic. So what makes you different from other people, other companies that do what you do? What makes you stand out from the rest, would you say?
Yeah. So a lot of people that do what we do tend to be independent traders. So one-person bands that go out and do a design for somebody's home and then sort of contract in lots of external contractors and different people to pull it together. If they go as far as actually doing the implementation side, a lot of people just do the sort of the design package. But we're a team of 10, so we've got a lot of different levels of experience within our business. We've got some very experienced people, and then we've also got the younger designers that come with the university degrees and the really high-tech skill set. And then we've also got our own installations team as well. So between us, we've got that real level of knowledge and expertise. So we can really offer the whole service right from sort of the initial idea to actually making it happen and actually being in place. And I think that we've really invested in our team in terms of making sure that everybody are the right people, the right fit. And we just have a great time doing what we do. We're really passionate. We have a lot of fun. And I think that really translates through into the results that we're getting, because a lot of our clients come back and at the end of the process, not only do they have their lovely home, but they really love working with us because it's fun and, it's exciting and, and I think that really does sort of showing the end results. And when people are coming back to us and saying at the end of it, oh, we're going to really miss you. And we do keep in touch with a lot of our clients. And Glyn and I are actually going at the couple of weeks' time, we're going to a ball with some clients who did a whole house renovation for. They're running a charity ball and they invited us to go along, and it'll be just really lovely to catch up with them because it's a really personal thing working on somebody's home. So you do develop some really strong relationships, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, I can imagine that you become a sort of key part of their life journey at that point in time that you're working with them. So yeah,
I think especially the last few years, probably more so than normal, because during the pandemic, there were times when people weren't really having much contact with anybody. And obviously, initially, we couldn't go into people's homes. But then when people were allowed to go in, we were perhaps the only people that they were actually seeing and having any contact with for quite a long time. And obviously, people had quite a lot of emotional stuff going on in their lives at that point. So it is a very special relationship that you develop with those people. It's something that I really enjoy.
Good stuff. So what's the business journey been like to date then over the last 7 years? Has it been plain sailing? Has it been a bit of a roller coaster, as some people describe? How's it been?
It's been a rocky roller coaster, to say the least. I mean, it would be really easy to blame the external environment. I mean, we bought an existing business. So Jane's Brindley in Wetherby had been established here for like 25 years or something. So a really well-established business. And we took over the day that the Brexit vote was announced. So it was like the world just stopped and went, whoa, for I don't know how many months, but that was a bit of a shock. And we were just busy blaming that for the fact that nobody was coming through our doors and nothing was happening. And then obviously we were like, we'll get through this, and then it'll get better, and there's a pandemic, and then there's global, and there's all the stuff going on. But I think if we're honest about it, the real problem was that we bought a business and presumed that it would just carry on, that we'd take down the James Brindley name, slap a lick of paint on the front, slap Furnish Fettle on outside, and run a few adverts, and everything would be okay. But it takes a lot more than that to build a brand and to build all the other stuff that goes around it. But also we had a legacy team that were on a different journey to us, and it took us a long time to really get our head around that. So and we didn't understand our numbers very well, and the first couple of years were hideous. I mean, there's no other word for it really. I mean, it was a really frightening, a really stressful time, and I hated it. I mean, if we weren't invested, both personally, financially, emotionally, and everything, I mean, we'd taken on lots of risk in terms of personal guarantees on leases of buildings, and we had a team that, you know, had got long service, so you couldn't make people redundant, and also you couldn't get rid of anybody. But it was incredibly stressful, and really it wasn't fun. I mean, this idea that we were buying this wonderful lifestyle business, it was anything but. It really was.
Fantastic. I bet there's a few lessons learned there. So what does before we kind of reflect on a biggest lesson, which I'll ask you in a minute, what in terms of the future does it look like for you guys now? What do you see as the biggest challenges that you face as far as you can predict?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for us now, because I think we've overcome a lot of the initial problems, and I think where we're sat now is probably the most excited I've ever felt about our business. We've got a fabulous team in place. We've sorted that out. We've shed the cost of the Harrogate showroom. We understand our niche. We know what we're doing. I feel as though we've really got our act together on a lot of stuff. But obviously, we've also learned as well that there are a lot of things that you can't control. I mean, the external environment, I mean, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, whatever, throw it at us, we'll cope with it. We've coped with all this other stuff. So I'm kind of at one with the fact that stuff is going to change and stuff's going to happen, that we can't do anything about, and all that we can do is just keep doing what we do and adapting to it as we go. But I think one of our biggest challenges is the marketplace for what we do is growing, which is great. People really understand the value of getting somebody professional to help them with their home. They understand that not only is it, for most people, it's their biggest financial asset, but it's also a place that is the backdrop to their lives and where they spend the time, and they understand that that's really important. But they're also watching loads of stuff on TV, all these programs, you know, where people have these virtual reality headsets, and they come into us and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to do this, and we're like, not quite. But you know, that is where we have to move to, and I think that is a challenge, because, you know, certainly myself included, some of our designers in the business, you know, we didn't grow up with computers. We were there cutting things out of magazines and sticking them onto boards with Grit Stick. I mean, you know, we've got younger designers that can knock up all this fancy stuff on the computer, and we're all sat there going, whoa, but that's very much where it's going. So we've got that sort of pull of the technology, which I think we've got to keep up with, and we've got to go with. But also at the fulfillment side, you know, it's all very well and good putting something fancy onto CAD drawings and virtual reality and all the rest of it, but when you're actually making a chair to go in somebody's house, you need an upholsterer to do that, you need a skilled carpenter to do that, and you need all these skills, which there is going to be a massive skills gap, because there isn't the apprenticeships in place for these people to be able to do this. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge in our industry, and also particularly for us as a business. I mean, we've already tried looking into it ourselves in terms of, could we have somebody as an apprentice that would then go on to, you know, grow with our business and learn some of the skills, particularly on the installation, you know, curtain blinds and curtains, blinds, fitting, all that sort of side of things. There just isn't anything out there train these people for the future. And it's going to be massive, because there's still going to be houses built, and they're still all going to have windows, and they're all going to need blinds or shutters or curtains or whatever at them. And there's going to be nobody to do it. So that's going to be a massive challenge.
Interesting. Yeah, I can imagine. So just moving on to yourself then, as a business owner, and what you've experienced to date in the 7 years that you've been going. If you could pick one lesson that stands out above all others, what would that be, if there is one?
People.
Might be one or two people.
Absolutely, people. And I think we realized quite early on, probably even day one, that the team of people we had weren't necessarily for us. They weren't on the same journey. They didn't have the same visions. They'd been here too long, and it was very difficult. I had my head in the sand. I didn't want to have any honest conversations. My husband and I had gone into this together, and we very much had. I'd spent the whole of my corporate career. I worked in sales for a medical devices company for the majority of it, avoiding being promoted because I did not want to manage people. I just loved doing what I did. I'm quite comfortable with the customers and that side of things, but I did not want to manage people. So we'd agreed that, Glyn was going to do people, but it didn't work like that in reality, because I was the one that understood what they were doing day to day.
Yeah.
Whereas he came from an environment that was quite different, and he just wanted to sort of do more of the organisational stuff and that sort of thing. So I ended up having to deal with the people, and I just hated it. And I was rubbish at it, and I was sticking my head in the sand and not having the honest conversations and not dealing with anything. And that created lots of problems, and it meant that it took us a lot longer to work through the issues in the team than it really should have done. And it's still not something I like. I mean, I still absolutely hate it, but now I can see the benefit that those conversations have to be had. So yes. Yeah, I think that's been getting the people right is, I've learned by mistakes. I haven't learned the easy way, but I think I'm an expert on how not to recruit people and how not to leave people in post for too long. And I've definitely learned the hard way.
That's one of the ways or the major way of learning, really, isn't it? Through mistakes and learning what didn't work, and then trying to adjust to what does work based on your experience. So thank you for sharing that.
I think there are easier ways, but I certainly chose the difficult route. But I've learned.
Good stuff. So if you were to offer some advice then to someone just starting out in business, would that reflect what you've just said?
Yeah, I think it would to some extent. I think it depends how you start out in business. If you start out by yourself, it's easier because you don't have to deal with that other people aspect. That's as the business grows. I think the absolute initial thing, which again is one of the things that we weren't very good at, was understanding your numbers and your profitability and all of that sort of side of things, and having a real handle on your overheads and on your costs, and really understanding that. And I think that was another thing. I came from thinking that I knew what I was doing because I'd done a degree that had business in the title. We'd done a module on accountancy, and Glyn and I both worked for big companies. We knew what we were doing. It was all sorted. But actually, 7 years on, I'm just actually really starting to get my head around it, having stepped into the role of doing some of our bookkeeping and getting more into that side of things last year has been a really good learning curve for me. And I think that is one of the things that is really important. If you don't understand that, you don't really have a business. So.
Yes. You're doing a good thing, getting involved in the bookkeeping side of things, so you get a handle and an understanding yourself, because as a business owner, there's many hats that has to be worn, and it's not that you are an expert in each of them, but you are. If you can understand a little bit about each of them, then that helps massively to have an overview of your business and where it's at any point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I enjoy doing, and it certainly doesn't play to my strengths. I'm not a detail organised person. I mean, everyone just laughs at the thought of me doing the bookkeeping. I think my desk is piles of paper everywhere, and I call it organised chaos. But you know what? I know how our system works, and I now am in a position that we've got somebody joining us start of the week after next, actually, and she's going to be taking that role over, because I know that I can't continue to grow our business if I'm sat there literally putting every invoice onto the system. But I now actually know what I'm training her to do, and I understand how important it is, and and we can put that system in place for that role. Whereas before, when the lady left that was doing it before, I didn't even know how it worked, and it was absolutely terrifying, because we had no. I mean, if she hadn't stayed and done her month's handover, I mean, we would have just fallen apart, because we had no idea how that function ran at all. So now I know how it works. I've written down how it works, and I'm going to teach somebody else how it works. So we're good now.
Fantastic. There's brilliant shares there in terms of the lessons that you're learning along the way of how to run the business. So thank you. So what inspires you to do what you do? I could hazard a guess about your relationships with customers. Is it friends, family, anything that you listen to or you read? If there's any inspiration you'd like to share, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I love people. I love watching people grow, and I love working with the team and seeing the young designers coming through, and being able to be involved in helping them to have a career that they love I find that really inspiring. I love working with the customers too. Going to see somebody when they're normally, people come to us when they're feeling a bit stressed and a bit overwhelmed, and that's to know that we can sort it out for them. It literally is like, we can wave a magic wand, and I know that in a few months' time they're going to be literally squealing with delight, jumping up and down and hugging us. It's lovely to know that is what we do. I also feel at this moment in time, I do feel really inspired about the business. I mean, I come from a business sort of salesy background. I live and die by sales targets and all that sort of things, and for the last few years, it has been really tough, and I found it really quite, I suppose, depressing in lots of ways, looking at our numbers and thinking, oh God, this isn't going how, I want it to go. But right now, I feel as though we really are sat at that point where I can see that this business can now be the sort of sustainable, profitable business that will provide me and my family with the lifestyle that we want, but also we'll be able to make sure that our team can have that too. And that's really important. And starting now to put those benefits in place for the team, looking at things like that we used to have in corporate world that we've just never been able to afford here, looking at things like, healthcare benefits and, flexible working and all of these other things, just to make sure that the business we're creating is actually the business we intended it to be at the beginning, before we realised that actually it was just about keeping afloat, which it has been for so many years. But now I feel really inspired to be actually able to start doing all those things that we wanted to do from the start.
Fantastic. Thank you. Another good share there. So lastly, in terms of any latest news around Furnish Fettle and what you're up to, even if it's just sharing the website, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, one of the things that is happening is we have a new designer joining us, who's going to be working between our Weatherby and our Poppington showroom. So again, bringing in more skills. She's skilled on sort of the technical side of the design and doing all the CAD and all of that sort of stuff. So we really want to get her off to a flying start. So what we're going to be doing is offering the home interior design consultation package, that's normally £300 and involves a home visit, up to 5 hours of design work, and then a presentation back in the showroom. So we're going to be offering that for half price for the first 5 people that signed up to work with her. And so that means that for £150, somebody's going to get all of that. So hopefully that will get her off to a fine start with her first 5 new clients. So anybody thinking about it needs to jump on it quick, because I already have a few jobs lined up for us. I'm not sure we'll actually be grateful that we're doing that or not in the long run, but we'll give it a whirl and see what happens.
Thank you very much, Eleanor. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best for the future of the business.
Thank you.